But for the better part of the last 2 decades, Celine has felt anything but like herself. Mysterious symptoms attacking both her body and her voice. What was happening to your voice when you were trying to sing?
It's like somebody's strangling you. It's like somebody's pushing your pharynx this way.
Celine Dion is now 58, and the life she lives today will leave you speechless. Once worth hundreds of millions, she's now battling a rare illness and facing financial loss that no one saw coming. How did one of the world's most powerful voices lose everything? From fame and fortune to heartbreak and survival, this is a story of love, sacrifice, and resilience. What really happened to Celine Dion, and what does she look like now, after losing it all? Stick with us, because the truth behind her journey is more emotional, more inspiring, and more unbelievable than anyone expected. From poverty to prodigy, The Voice, born in Quebec. Long before the sold-out arenas, diamond records, and Grammy stages, Celine Dion's story began in a tiny town most people had never heard of, Charlemagne, Quebec. Born the youngest of 14 children, Celine came into the world surrounded by music but not much money. Her family was poor. They lived in a modest home where meals were stretched, and bedrooms were often shared by multiple siblings. But what they lacked in wealth, they made up for in love and creativity. Her parents owned a small piano bar, and it was there, at just 5 years old, that Celine sang her first song to a live audience. Music wasn't just entertainment in the Dion household, it was survival. "We didn't have much," Celine once said, "but we had each other, and we had music." That spark in her voice didn't go unnoticed. At the age of 12, Celine recorded a demo with her mother and brother, a simple cassette that found its way into the hands of René Angelil, a struggling music manager in Montreal. When René pressed play, he was moved to tears. He didn't just hear potential, he heard destiny. René believed in her so deeply that he mortgaged his own house to fund her first album. "I knew she was going to be the greatest singer in the world," he later recalled, "and I was willing to risk everything." That gamble set a fire in motion, and with it, the girl from Quebec began her rise. But her journey to the world stage was only just beginning. Becoming a global star, from Eurovision to Titanic. Celine's French-language career soared across Quebec and Europe, but the world really discovered her in 1988 when she represented Switzerland at the Eurovision Song Contest and won. The victory introduced her voice to millions across Europe, and her name began traveling far beyond her hometown. But breaking into the English-speaking market would take something more. And that more came in the form of a timeless duet, Beauty and the Beast, with Piabo Bryson in 1991. The track, used in Disney's animated classic, won an Academy Award and a Grammy. And more importantly, it proved that Celine could own the English-language charts. From there, the hits didn't stop. The Power of Love, Because You Loved Me, It's All Coming Back to Me Now. Each song became more than just a single. It became an anthem. Her voice, soaring and emotional, carried heartache, hope, and healing all in one note. Then came My Heart Will Go On. The theme to Titanic wasn't just a hit, it was a cultural tsunami. The song topped charts in more than 20 countries and became one of the best-selling singles of all time. Even people who had never seen the film could hum the haunting flute intro. Celine had gone from Canadian singer to global superstar. But while the world was falling in love with her voice, her heart was being pulled in a more personal direction. A love that defied the odds, Celine and René. When René Angelil first met Celine, she was a child. He was 38, twice her age, and her music manager. Their connection was purely professional and stayed that way for many years. But as Celine matured, so did their bond, and by the time she was in her late teens, their working relationship quietly turned into love. They kept their romance private for years, fearing backlash over the age gap and power dynamics. But in 1994, they went public in the most spectacular way. A televised wedding broadcast live from Montreal's Notre Dame Basilica. Millions watched a photo here as Celine walked down the aisle in a tiara that looked like something out of a fairy tale. Their love was strong, but not without trials. Industry critics whispered about control. Some doubted their sincerity. But Celine always made one thing clear. René was my only love. He gave me everything. My voice, my life, my heart. When René was diagnosed with cancer, Celine stepped away from fame to care for him. She bathed him, fed him, stayed by his side every hour. She paused her career, one of the biggest in the world, to be a wife, not a singer. As one friend said, most people talk about love. Celine lived it. And when René passed in 2016, her world stopped. But she had another role to fulfill, one even more important than being a star. Family. First, a mother's fierce devotion. For Celine, becoming a mother wasn't easy. After years of struggling with infertility, she gave birth to her first son, René Charles, in 2001. He was followed by twin boys, Nelson and Eddie, in 2010. She once said, "If I had to choose between being a singer or being a mom, I'd choose mom, every time." Celine raised her children away from the chaos of Hollywood. She taught them humility, structure, and how to appreciate life outside of fame. Even while selling out shows in Vegas, she made sure to tuck her boys in at night. She supported René Charles as he explored music and hockey, and fiercely protected her twins' privacy. "My goal is to raise good men," she told Oprah. "Not stars, just kind, strong boys." Motherhood gave her purpose, and it became her strength, especially when she made a career move that would change the music industry forever. The Vegas gamble that changed music forever. In 2003, Celine Dion made a move that stunned critics: a long-term Las Vegas residency. At the time, Vegas was considered a final stop for fading stars. Many saw it as a gamble, maybe even a surrender. But Celine didn't see it that way. She saw it as an opportunity to build stability for her family. No more tours, no more planes. Her boys could stay in one place, and she could sing every night in a custom-built theater at Caesar's Palace. And it worked, spectacularly. Her show, A New Day, grossed over $400 million, drawing fans from around the globe. The production was cinematic, elegant, and powerful. People flew from every continent just to see her perform. Celine didn't just succeed in Vegas, she transformed it. Her success paved the way for a new generation of residencies. After her, stars like Britney Spears, Jennifer Lopez, and Lady Gaga followed suit. What was once a career end became a career evolution. But even at the height of her empire, Celine was facing a battle no spotlight could fix. And in 2022, that battle would bring her entire world crashing down. The illness that stole her voice. In December 2022, everything changed. The woman with one of the most powerful voices in music revealed she could barely sing at all. Celine Dion shared with the world that she had been diagnosed with stiff person syndrome, a rare neurological disorder that affects fewer than 1 in a million people. Her voice, The very thing that had lifted her from a small-town piano bar to the heights of global superstardom was now under siege. "This illness is affecting every aspect of my life," Celine admitted in a tearful message. "Even walking can be difficult. I miss doing what I love so much, performing for you." The symptoms were brutal: painful muscle spasms, stiffness, and the kind of physical limitations that would terrify any performer. She had to postpone and eventually cancel her tour dates. Her body couldn't handle the stress. But what hit even harder was the silence. Celine disappeared from the spotlight, focusing entirely on recovery. She poured millions into therapy, experimental treatments, and physical rehabilitation. But unlike her glamorous stage shows, there were no standing ovations here, just slow, painful progress. She had always been known for strength, but now she had to find a different kind of courage. The kind that comes with not being able to do what you were born to do. Still, Celine wasn't done, because in 2024, the world would witness a comeback no one expected. The comeback that silenced doubt. It was July 2024, Paris, the Olympic opening ceremony. Just when the world thought Celine Dion might never sing again, she stepped into the light, on top of the Eiffel Tower. Her voice opened softly, a stirring rendition of La Vie en Rose. It wasn't about power this time, it was about emotion, about survival. The performance lasted just a few minutes, but it sent shockwaves across the globe. Fans wept. Critics praised her raw, vulnerable sound. And Celine? She smiled, not just for the cameras, but because she had done the unthinkable. "Being here tonight," she said afterward, "it means everything. I'm not the same, but I'm still me." This moment didn't just silence doubters. It reminded everyone of who she really was. Not just a singer, a fighter. But as her voice returned to the world, many began asking another question. What had become of her fortune? When the money vanished, the financial fallout, once estimated to be worth over $800 million, Celine Dion's wealth had seemed untouchable. From record-breaking albums to one of the most successful Las Vegas residencies in history, she had built an empire. But illness has a way of draining more than just energy. It can drain everything. Cancelled tours, paused merchandise deals, a halted documentary. And then there were the medical costs, cutting-edge treatment centers, international specialists, private jets for transport, and 24/7 care. Add to that her commitment to supporting staff, family, and long-standing charities. Celine continued paying full salaries even when she couldn't work. She never made a public statement about her financial losses, but insiders said it plainly. Her income stopped. Her spending didn't. Still, there were no complaints. Celine had always seen money as a tool to help, not just to keep. As her finances strained, so did her public image. Because in addition to the whispers about her health, critics began circling for something else entirely: her fashion choices, fashion risks, public criticism, and staying unapologetic. Even before her illness, Celine Dion had become something of a fashion wildcard. At events, she stunned with bold, daring looks, feathered capes, high-drama gowns, and tailored suits worn backwards. The headlines didn't always approve. Critics scoffed. Some said she was trying too hard. Others suggested she had lost her mind after René's passing. But Celine never backed down. "I dress for me," she once said. "Not to be liked, not to be safe." In 2018, she launched a gender-neutral children's clothing line. The backlash was immediate. Some accused her of pushing an agenda. But Celine stood firm. "Let kids be who they are," she said simply. "Why should clothes decide that for them?" Style, for Celine, became a kind of silent rebellion, a way to reclaim identity while the rest of her world crumbled. In a time when she couldn't rely on her voice, her outfits did the talking. Yet beneath the sequins and sunglasses, something deeper remained broken. Because after the loss of Renee, money and fashion meant very little at all. Love, loss, and life. Without Renee. Losing Renee in 2016 wasn't just the end of a marriage. It was the loss of her anchor, her partner, her compass. Celine once said, "I never made a single decision without Renee. Not one. Now I make all of them alone." He wasn't just her husband. He was her manager, mentor, and protector. Together, they built everything. Without him, Celine felt adrift. She kept performing, but something had changed. Fans could see it in her eyes. There was heartbreak behind every ballad, and in the quiet moments, she grieved deeply. She had lost her voice in more ways than one. Still, she showed up for her sons, for her audience, for herself. Even when she didn't have all the answers. "Every day," she said in one interview, "I talk to him. I feel like he's guiding me still." And maybe he was, because in the years that followed, Celine Dion would do something even braver than singing again. She'd let the world see who she truly was, behind the stage lights, beyond the spotlight. And that honesty would become her next great act. I Am, the documentary that revealed everything. By 2024, whispers had turned into headlines, and speculation into worry. Fans wanted answers, not about her music, but her silence. That's when Celine Dion made one of the boldest choices of her career. She let the cameras in. The documentary was titled, I Am Celine Dion. But this wasn't a glamorous celebration of past glories. It was raw, honest, painful, and real. Viewers watched as Celine struggled through physical therapy, unable to control spasms in her legs. They saw her gripping walls, practicing vocal exercises through tears, and dealing with the daily battles that come with an invisible illness. There were no filters, no spotlights, just a woman, famous, broken, but still fighting. She explained how the illness had robbed her of control. "I can't perform like I used to. I can't hit the same notes, but I'm still me," she whispered in one of the film's most emotional moments. The public reaction was immediate. Audiences around the world praised her bravery, but they were also shocked. Many had no idea just how much she'd been hiding. The tremors, the isolation, the fear. And through it all, Celine never played the victim. She showed strength in vulnerability, letting the world see that even legends aren't immune to pain. But even as she opened her soul to the world, one thing was clear. Her heart had never changed, because through the pain and silence, Celine Dion never stopped giving. Philanthropy in silence, the giving we never saw. Long before her health crisis, Celine Dion had already made giving back a personal mission. She donated quietly, privately, without fanfare. From helping victims of Hurricane Katrina with a $1 million donation to aiding those impacted by the Haiti earthquake, Celine gave from the heart, often behind closed doors. "If you're going to do something good," she once said, "you don't have to tell the world." She also supported countless children's hospitals and funded medical research organizations. One cause especially close to her heart was the Canadian Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, after losing her niece Karine to the disease. And even when she wasn't on stage, she still paid her staff, her team, her dancers, her band. She made sure none of them were left behind when her shows were canceled due to illness. She could have saved millions by cutting costs. She didn't. This quiet generosity eventually took a toll on her finances. But for Celine, it was never about the money. It was about people, about doing the right thing, even when no one was watching. As her voice dimmed in the media, her legacy of compassion quietly expanded, and that legacy of music and heart began to take on a life of its own. Celine the icon, music, memes, and immortality. Celine Dion isn't just a voice, she's an era. From The Power of Love to My Heart Will Go On, her ballads became soundtracks to the biggest moments in people's lives. Weddings, funerals, graduations, heartbreaks, reunions. Her voice didn't just carry notes, it carried emotion. It became a companion for millions across the world, navigating love, grief, and hope. Her songs were more than hits. They became global anthems. Because You Loved Me was played at thousands of wedding aisles. It's All Coming Back to Me Now gave heartache a voice. And My Heart Will Go On, well, that one transcended music. It became a cultural monument. Even people who'd never seen Titanic knew the flute intro by heart. But somewhere along the way, Celine Dion evolved from pop star to pop culture phenomenon. And not just because of her voice. Her expressive stage presence, hand gestures that looked like choreography of the soul, pounding her chest during dramatic climaxes, tilting her head to chase the final note, became instantly recognizable. These gestures weren't planned. They were instinctual, and that's what made them so iconic. Fans around the world began mimicking her movements, posting tribute videos, memes, parodies, and reactions online. The internet didn't just embrace her. They celebrated her as a symbol of unfiltered passion. Whether it was singing her heart out in an empty airport lobby, showing up at Fashion Week dressed like a couture goddess, or poking fun at herself during interviews, Celine kept giving the world moments to remember, and she never took herself too seriously. "I know I'm over the top," she once joked with a wink, "but that's how I feel music. That's how I live." In a world obsessed with being cool, Celine dared to be emotional, and that's what made her timeless. You didn't just listen to Celine, you felt her. Even as musical tastes shifted and newer stars emerged, many of those same stars pointed to Celine as the gold standard. Adele has called her a vocal goddess. Kelly Clarkson has cited her as one of the voices that taught her how to sing with power. Ariana Grande has performed multiple tributes. That kind of reverence doesn't happen by accident. It's earned. Note by note, decade by decade. And even beyond the stage, Celine remained relevant. Her fashion evolution became its own talking point. One day she was draped in Valentino, the next she was wearing a hoodie and jeans, and somehow she owned both looks like runway statements. Her fans spanned generations. Kids born long after her biggest hits still belt them at karaoke nights. Seniors tear up when they hear her voice on the radio. And Gen Z? They made her a meme queen, lovingly, respectfully, and joyfully. Because no matter how the world changed, Celine stayed true to herself. She never followed trends. She became one. In interviews, she often says her only goal is to connect. If I can make someone feel something, joy, sadness, anything, then I've done my job. And oh, has she done her job? Her music is downloaded in over 180 countries. Her lyrics have been translated into dozens of languages. Her concerts have sold out across 4 continents. And her moments, whether powerful or playful, have been etched into the digital universe forever. That's not just popularity, that's immortality. And as the world laughed, cried, and sang with her, Celine Dion did something few artists ever achieve. She became not just a singer, but a symbol of strength, heart, and unapologetic humanity. And her influence didn't stop with fans. It reached the next generation of artists, who saw not only her voice, but her values. Which leads us into the next part of her story. Celine, the mentor. A guiding light for those finding their own voice in the shadow of hers. Mentoring the next generation of stars. Behind the spotlight, Celine Dion became something more than a performer. She became a mentor. Young stars often credit her as a guiding light. Singers like Adele, Ariana Grande, Kelly Clarkson, and Sam Smith have. All pointed to Celine as their inspiration. But it wasn't just about imitation, it was about guidance. On shows like The Voice, Celine made guest appearances not just to sing, but to teach. She offered advice on vocal technique, longevity, and how to stay grounded in a world obsessed with fame. Her focus wasn't on stardom, it was on authenticity. "Sing like no one's watching," she told one contestant, "but mean every word like everyone is." And she meant it. She never held back encouragement, never let ego get in the way. She lifted people up, even those who would one day compete with her for the top spot. And in doing so, she secured something no money could ever buy: legacy. A legacy she would carry into the final chapter of this story. The legacy that money can't touch. Celine Dion is 58 now, and she's lost a lot: her health, her fortune, her beloved Renee. But none of those losses define her, because what she's gained is something deeper. She's a survivor, a mother, a mentor. And still, no matter what life has taken from her, a voice that refuses to be silenced. Her songs live on. Her influence echoes in the voices of a new generation. And her story continues to inspire millions facing battles of their own. "Money comes and goes," Celine once said, "but love, real love, that stays." And in the end, her legacy isn't counted in chart positions or net worth. It's in the hearts she's touched, the people she's helped, the courage she's shown. No illness, no loss, no silence could take that away. Because true legends aren't made by what they earn. They're remembered for how they endure. And Celine Dion, she endures. Celine Dion lost money, health, and love, but never her spirit. Her story is more than tragedy. It's a reminder of strength, heart, and legacy. If this moved you, hit that like button, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.